Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. States of public emergency declared in St. Ann, Clarendon and the Kingston Western Police Division. Reactions to government's $1 trillion budget for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. And later in sports, West Indies women on the brink of World Cup elimination. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. The government has declared states of emergency in Clarendon, St. Ann and the Kingston Western Police Division. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement in a press release a short while ago. More in this report.
In a press release on Wednesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said these states of emergency will be for a period of 14 days. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson said the Kingston Western Police Division had the highest number of murders and shootings across all police divisions, with a total of 17 murders and 12 shootings recorded from January 1, 2023 to February 10, 2023. This is an increase of 31% and 20% respectively when compared to the same period in 2022, during which 13 murders and 10 shooting incidents were recorded. The Clarendon Police Division had the third highest number of murders across all police divisions, with a total of 15 murders and 4 shootings over the period January 1, 2023 to February 12, 2023. This is the highest increase among all police divisions in both murders and shootings. Murders up 200% and shootings up 100%. For the comparative period in 2022, there were 5 murders and 2 shootings. For the St. Ann Police Division, Commissioner Anderson reported that although the division had 50% fewer murders in January 2023 than in January 2022, this was reversed with a 22% increase in murders as at February 11, 2023, with the year-to-date figures moving from 9 to 11 murders. Mr. Holness said organized gangs are the main source and cause of violence, leading to fear and terror in some communities. He added that the government must protect innocent citizens from these criminal gangs and therefore must act. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang stressed that extreme criminality, as recorded in the specified areas, requires equally strong and decisive enforcement measures to protect law-abiding citizens. He stressed the use of the states of public emergency in these instances is a necessary and effective response to the high level of criminal violence within the identified areas. Hal Shane Burke reporting for TVJ News.
In the meantime, the police in St. Ann have launched an initiative to help residents resolve conflicts within the parish. Commanding Officer Senior Superintendent Dwight Powell says already 2023 crime statistics is worrying. The details in this report. Since the start of the year, St. Ann has recorded 11 murders overall. 7 of those murders were committed in Steertown. It is for this reason, Commanding Officer for the parish, Senior Superintendent Dwight Powell, has welcomed the curfew.
The curfew, ladies and gentlemen, is to fix the issues that is happening in Steertown. Now, of course, we're having violence. We have seen a few murders since the start of the year in Steertown. We have seen some shooting incidents. And I'm going to say to the criminal element over in Steertown that as long as I am the commanding officer for St. Ann, you will not be allowed to have your field day. We'll fine you, we'll fix the problem, we will address the problem. And so whether it takes a curfew or other intervention measures, we'll fine you and we'll get the problem fixed.
SSP Powell also said that there are some men on the police's most wanted list from the area. He's urging them to come forward.
So Mr. Kemar Matthews from Steertown, Daniel, OC Bitter, OC Bibi, we have interest in you, sir. So come with your lawyer, and so that we can work out the situation for you. The sooner, the better. And so I'm going to give you a timeline. I'm giving you, Mr. Kemar Matthews, a timeline. We want you to come before 6 o'clock Wednesday evening. So Mr. Kemar Matthews, OC Bitter, OC Bibi from Steertown. Find yourself to the nearest police station in St. Ann or anywhere in Jamaica.
He says persons need to find amicable ways to resolve conflicts in the parish. It's why the police recently launched an initiative to assist in this regard.
So 1/3 of our deaths last year in St. Ann was again from conflict situation, domestic violence situation, which is much too high. That is higher than the national average. All right, so this year it is our intent to find some solution. And so we are starting here in Ocherius, and then we'll be across the 10 other stations in St. Ann to introduce to you that you can find more reasonable ways to settle your conflict.
Shimela Pullen. 2 people were killed along the Kendall Main Road in Manchester early Wednesday morning. The deceased have been identified as 29-year-old Damian Robinson, otherwise called Bleachers, and 22-year-old Shamoy Bora of Glentown, Pen, St. Elizabeth. Reports are that Miss Robinson and Mr. Bora were traveling in a vehicle along the Barred Peace Main Road when they were approached by gunmen who opened fire on the vehicle. Robinson and Bora were shot. They were taken to the Mandeville Regional Hospital where they were pronounced dead. A resident who spoke to our news team said they heard explosions shortly before 1 o'clock.
The day in my house still I hear some gunshot, but I didn't take it seriously a gunshot. Think of them look at explosion they would bite me. But after me hear the woman start ball, help me get up and take it serious. I look down upon the main, I see a little car with four-way flasher. So to one of my friends drive a market, I think I'm my friend. So we reach to the car, I say, look a young youth get gunshot, and the day I go and make call and make sure police know. About 20 minutes after we find out, say, a girl there, 10 seconds away from the car, lie down with gunshot, and I just say, come down.
And in St. James, the police were kept busy after 3 people were killed in separate incidents. They were first called to a crime scene along Phoenix Avenue in Westgate Hills yesterday afternoon. It's where the body of 47-year-old Aretha Clark was found with bullet wounds. She was in the passenger seat of a motor car. Then, about 7 p.m., there were chaotic scenes along Jimmy Cliff Boulevard, Barnett Street, when armed thugs shot up a vehicle during traffic. 41-year-old Albert Reed was killed in the attack. A woman in the vehicle was also injured. The gunman then made good his escape. And about 9 p.m., the police responded to a shooting in Retirement. Residents reported hearing gunshots. The body of an unidentified man was found with bullet wounds. Where is the focus on productivity? That's a question being asked this afternoon by financial analysts following the tabling of the historic $1 trillion estimates of expenditure on Tuesday. Details in this report.
The budget tabled in Parliament on Tuesday shows that the government for the upcoming fiscal year, which begins on April 1, will be focusing on reducing the country's debt. While that is a good move, financial analysts are raising questions about productivity. Financial analyst Dennis Chung, while noting the $75.3 billion allocation for major road and infrastructure projects, argued about the improvement in the country's public transportation systems, which is inextricably linked to productivity.
We're going to see improvement in the fiscal. We're going to see some economic growth. And I think once we normalize, we're going to get back to about 1 to 2% growth. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to see the improvement in the day-to-day lives of people because we're not addressing the productivity issues. And that is my concern, and that's where we need to go to next, because you're going to have economy growing, and it's going to be limited in terms of who benefits.
As to whether more funds should have been allocated for capital expenditure, Orville Johnson says the government made the right decision.
Having too much debt, whether you're an individual or a corporation or a country, puts you in a box. And it's best that you have the kind of flexibility where you can live out of what you earn so that you are ready for the external shocks that you are going to get from time to time.
Now, development economist and financial commentator Dr. Chris Stokes says what he wants to see are strategic initiatives to be funded by the budget and how it will spur economic growth.
The biggest part of that is how we're going to finance it. You know, a budget that keeps the debt to GDP coming down and that invests in economic growth is what we're looking for. The number itself is a number, but what is the consequence of that number? Are we getting more into debt? Are we doing things to slow down the economy? And I don't expect to see those things. I'm not worried about the number itself. I am keen on seeing the strategic initiatives that this budget funds. Primarily, again, are reducing overall debt to GDP and are investing for growth.
Based on revenue estimates, the government expects to rake in $889 billion from taxes and other miscellaneous receipts, about $15 billion from capital revenue to include the sale of land, and the rest of the budget will be financed by grants and loan receipts. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
An urgent appeal this afternoon for the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation and the police to get things in order in Spanish Town. The matter was raised at the latest sitting of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation monthly meeting. More in this report.
Councillors and the motoring public in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, are fuming as delivery trucks continue to overtake the already cramped space in Spanish Town. It has led to renewed calls from at least one councillor for the issue to be addressed. Councillor for the Ginger Ridge Division and Deputy Mayor Ralston Wilson says something must be done immediately about the practice.
This Lego beast attitude where trucks come in as they feel, deliver as they feel, block the road where they feel, causing mayhem. And even sometimes some of the citizens of this parish, because they have something to offer them, want to beat off motorists who want to go about their business in a very peaceful way. This needs to be stopped.
He's suggesting that a day or time be provided, as the roads in the old capital cannot manage the 5 days of delivery.
The streets of Spanish Town was not built for this sort of development or population. It has outgrown its usefulness. And therefore, everyday trucks for delivery of goods are coming in this town and causing mayhem.
But Mayor of Spanish Town Norman Scott says a law is already in place which governs the delivery of items to business establishments. However, he says there has been a lapse in the enactment of the law, both from the corporation and the police. In relation to the matter brought by the Deputy Mayor, Mr. Scott says the matter will be forwarded to the Infrastructure Committee of the corporation.
So all the information, relevant information, will be added, and so when we come to infrastructure meeting, we can discuss it and enforce the law. But there is a law.
In the meantime, Mr. Wilson has called for the Superintendent of Police in charge of Spanish Town to come before the corporation and outline the strategies to tackle the issue. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Concerns are being raised about an increase in the number of Jamaicans getting heart disease. Speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica on Tuesday, Executive Director of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, Deborah Chen, says front of package labeling remains a big issue. More in this report.
Despite efforts over the years, more Jamaicans are being diagnosed with heart disease. It's a major concern for Executive Director of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, Deborah Chen.
So high blood pressure is about 31.5%. Overweight and obesity is 53%, 17% for high cholesterol, and 10% for diabetes.
How many of our population die? What are the stats?
Well, 80% of the population die from a non-communicable disease, which we would include diabetes, cancer, and heart disease, which share risk factors for the most part.
And what's more worrying is that children too are being diagnosed early. Ms. Chen says 23% of Jamaican children are overweight.
So it's an out-of-schools initiative working with the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Ministry of Education and Youth to try and create a healthier environment for our children in schools right up to grade 13. So it's as I said, it's a green paper now out for discussion with stakeholders, but basically it would create a framework for nutritious food in schools to ensure that there is heart healthy, general healthy recipes. The Jamaican farmers, I'm sure, would be involved in that. So it would monitor and ensure that the environment in terms of school environment, nutrition is good, and that physical activity is adhered to.
The aim is to curb risk factors to prevent disability and death. But Ms. Chen says health personnel and groups are challenged, especially when it comes to front-of-package labeling.
The industry are saying, some players in the industry want multiple labels. The Heart Foundation and other stakeholders, such as the academia and the Ministry of Health and Wellness, want the evidence-based black octagon front-of-pack label put in place because that's what the evidence showed. But other stakeholders don't want that. But that is the one that's most easily identifiable. So as far as I see, we're at a stalemate. It went to cabinet and it's at a stalemate. But in terms of the interest of the health of the Jamaican population, the black octagon front-of-pack label must be instituted because that's what our population found easiest to make healthy choices.
February is being highlighted as Heart Month under the theme, Do Your Part to Protect Your Heart. Hal Shane Burke reporting for TVJ News.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
Grace Kennedy is now the majority owner of Catherine's Peak Bottling Company Limited, owner of the Catherine's Peak Pure Spring Water brand. GK signed the deal with Spike Industries, which means it now holds a 70% stake in Catherine's Peak, representing a 100% increase in its ownership of the water company. GK already owned 35% of Catherine's Peak. The deal is still subject to closing conditions. GK says it is looking at opportunities to expand Catherine's Peak distribution outside of the local market through line extensions and exports to the Caribbean and US markets. The U.S. Treasury Department paid a record $213 billion in interest payments on the national debt in the fourth quarter of last year. That's up $63 billion from the same period a year earlier. It also marks the largest quarterly increase on record, up $30 billion from the third quarter. The hike is mainly due to increases the Federal Reserve has made to its interest rate. That rate has gone up 4.5 percentage points in the past 12 months. And that's the Business Minute. I'm Shane Masters.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report. In this evening's health report, we'll speak to a family whose child was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder.
For both of us, one of the things that really drives us is that we do everything together. And when I say everything, we mean every single thing together. We plan together, we do chores together. So if one is asleep, the other one is working. So we take turns on everything. So my husband will be with him and I am. And one of our biggest challenge is insomnia. Which means we get just little bit of sleep at night.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Teach your child or students how to advocate for their own needs. Help your child play with others. Use a calm tone of voice, even in the midst of a behavioral outburst. And create routines by doing these activities at the same time and in the same way every day. And now for the top regional and international stories.
In news from the region, the Grantley Adams International Airport in Barbados opened on Wednesday after the main runway was closed Tuesday evening due to a faulty runway edge light circuit. The closure affected several incoming and outgoing flights in Europe, North America and the Caribbean. However, Barbados' Tourism Minister Ian Gooding Edgehill says an investigation is underway to determine the cause of the problem. On the international scene, Nicola Sturgeon is to resign as Scotland's first minister after more than 8 years in the role. Sturgeon has been facing increasing tensions with the United Kingdom's government over Scottish independence, as well as the Westminster's decision to block a Scottish law intended to allow transgender people in Scotland to change their legal gender without a medical diagnosis. However, Sturgeon will remain in office until a new leader is appointed. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Jamaica Maitland.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report.